Hello everyone and welcome to Sharekhan Classroom's free learning program. Today's topic is a very interesting topic on Rohit Indicators, and to explain the same we have the man himself, Mr. Rohit Srivastava. He is the founder and the market strategist at indiacharts.com. Something more about him, friends. He is a former fund manager and the head of research at Sharekhan by BNP Paribas. He is having more than 30 years of experience in tracking markets. He was introduced to Elliott wave analysis in around 1999. And since then, for almost 2 decades now, he has been using that tool along with other fundamental and socio-economic indicators for analyzing various markets. In 2019, he quit his job at Sharekhan by BNP Paribas as the head of research, and since then he started out on his own. Now, without wasting any further time, I will hand over the mic to him.
So thanks a lot. This is a good session and long pending request, I think, from a lot of people who've been wanting to understand how we really use the indicator and scanner. It's been one of my prominent tools that I've used to give buy and sell signals, and throughout my time, of course, a few years prior to, but a large part of my career at Sharekhan itself, 18 years, and still going with indiacharts.com right now, which is a company we founded for delivering our daily analysis and getting people educated about how to trade better in markets. And I think this will be one of the important tools that you'll be able to add to your skill set, which is why we've really added it to the TradeTiger, which is of course a very powerful platform, one that I use almost every day, in fact every day. And among the challenges was to give up. I've been able to give up all other softwares that I really need to use for charting and trading now with this final tool right in there. So this was the only thing which I was still using outside, and so now I don't really need anything else. So that's how good it is for people who still don't understand, because they keep asking me, what is it really doing over here? So we'll get into detail of how it really functions, gives us a little more insight. But one of the reasons that I really had to build into this was to get something that was better than what was already available, and I needed it to be smooth, swift, and easy to execute. And it's just worked with me over time, and I think it'll be a great addition for everybody who starts using it in any case. Okay, so this is going to be the flow of the discussion over the next half an hour to 40 minutes, and then we'll take Q&A. We'll understand what the indicator is, how it functions, why did we design it like this, what are the variations to the indicator, understanding its the zero line concept, the use of positive and negative divergences, confirming a trend using trend lines and moving averages, and then multi-time frame analysis, which then further gets enhanced by using the Rohit scanner. So that's the entire flow we are going to go through. So one of the first concepts we have to get is that when we look at the market, we're always looking at the market moving up and down, up and down. If it's in a bull market, it's making higher highs and higher lows. But while we are actually doing that, okay, so we're actually making higher highs and higher lows. Each move in the market can actually be measured in the form of a cycle. Okay, so if we actually think the market moves up, then it pulls back a bit, then it moves higher still, then it pulls back a bit. Each of these moves to a particular high, then back to a higher low, then to another high, then another pullback. Each of these can be measured in regular cycles when we use momentum indicators. Okay, and if you do it rightly with the right indicator, what it should end up looking like is what you see over here, which is a sine wave. So the essence is to come up with a very, very smooth indicator that can give you the feeling of a sine wave going from top end to bottom end to top end with each move in the market. So I would say that each of these is a cycle. Okay, each move in the market from top to bottom is one cycle, and therefore when I look at the momentum in the form of a sine wave, I call it momentum cycles. What I'm going to immediately do now, just to give you a sense, if for people who are already familiar with indicators and those who are not, there are essentially two types of broad indicators. We call them range bound and non-range bound. Now, range bound indicators are like the RSI, Williams percentage R, stochastics, and so on. While the RSI is a useful indicator, the limitation of range bound indicators is that if you get a very strong trend, like you're in a bull market, okay, then the indicator will go into overbought and it will stay there, for a prolonged period of time and simply keep gyrating over there. And so it doesn't give you any new information that you can really deal with. So if we say this top black patch is the overbought zone, okay, so what ends up happening is that if we have an indicator, like say it moves from down, let me take a line tool, it moves from down and then starts heading up, okay, it goes into this zone and then gets stuck over here. It can't really move beyond this point. So that's a limitation of range bound indicators. They do have some utility, but what I've really found when it comes to execution, so range bound indicators are good for seeing things like maybe divergences at the fag end or whether it's gotten into an overbought or oversold zone. But what it doesn't really tell you is where do you really execute, where do you buy, where do you sell, because there are lots of whipsaws that happen inside these ranges. So which is why I have a clear preference for non-range bound indicators, which are the likes of MACD, ROC, and so on. The problem that most people face with an MACD is that it's a lagged indicator, which means it gives a buy or sell signal a couple of days late by the time the trend is already in force. And with indicators like the ROC, you find that they're extremely erratic. So we really needed to really improve them, which is sort of what I've attempted to do by really smoothing out the curves and fitting it in a better way. So what I have is what I call the Rohit momentum indicator, is essentially a momentum indicator that moves around a zero line. So it's like we discussed in the case of a sine wave. And once we have the zero line, what we're looking at is an indicator that will go from below the line, above, back below, back above, back below. So we'll keep moving something like this. And then we use this simultaneously along with a 9-day exponential moving average of the indicator itself. So we plot a 9 EMA of the indicator, which is also what you find in most common indicators like the MACD as well, where the 9 EMA essentially provides you with a crossover. So every time you get a crossover of the indicator above the 9 EMA or the indicator below the 9 EMA, we are essentially generating buy and sell signals. Okay. So as this repeatedly happens, we get a buy and sell signal at each crossover point, which means that this point is a buy signal, this point is a sell signal, this point is a buy signal, and this point is a sell signal. So it's very simple, knowing where these signals occur. What is key is to understanding how they really play out during a real-time market. Now, what you also see is that it is continuously moving above and below the zero line. This is a very important concept, the use of the zero line, because when you have an incomplete cycle, okay, so if you have something which is let me just take an example. Okay, so you have a trend, which is still in force. Now, what I showed you is an idealized form. In real-time markets, the momentum may tend to move like this. It may come back, but sometimes it may not really reach the zero line. What if it starts going up again? So the main point here is that it's really essential for an indicator's full cycle to be complete when it moves above the zero line and then comes back below the zero line. Now, those who studied ROC would know that some people just trade rate of change when it crosses above zero. But what we do over here is that we look for buy signals essentially when they are occurring from below the line. Okay, so we're not looking for buy signals that are occurring above the line. So if you have something like this, okay, what you're really looking for is these buy signals, those that have occurred from below the line. So these are the most important buy signals, and what we believe is that once you get this signal and this trend is in force, this trend is not complete, and then there's a pullback till you're really back below this line. Why do we discuss this concept of line is that when do you really take the next buy entry? So you may get a buy signal here, you may say, okay, this is a good entry point. Okay, but what if you miss this entry point? When is the next entry point going to come? And the answer is the next entry point is really after the indicator starts to move up again from below the line, and also after it gives a fresh crossover. So that means over here. All other buy signals are therefore to be really ignored, or at least they do not have the same level of significance. So this is a very important concept in terms of removing whipsaws from your system and removing false signals. This is also true the other way around, which means that if you're actually looking for sell signals on the indicator, the most important sell signal is one which starts occurring from above the line, so like this one. This may be an important sell signal, this may be an important sell signal. But once prices have moved down, till they really go back up, the next sell signal, which will be of importance, will only come later on, which is after it goes above the line and then turns down again. And then you get another sell signal at this point of time. Okay, so these are the important sell signals, not the ones that would occur somewhere down here. Those are the whipsaws and those are the false signals. The concept of cycles also is very, very useful in giving you patience. Say, for example, you're riding an upward trend and you need to, you've made your exit, you've made a profit, you've made your exit, and you really need to get the next signal. What this actually gives you indirectly is it gives you a lot of patience. One of the biggest problems that we find with a lot of traders is they lack patience and they want to enter again and again. They don't want to miss the next move, and therefore they have no way of stopping themselves from taking in a couple of bad trades. And the way to really do it is wait for this whole cycle to play out and for the next signal. So if you missed this signal, or even if you got out at some point, took your profit, you really need to wait for the next signal to really come in. So this is where the concept of using the zero line properly comes in. So what we've understood so far, about the RMI is that it gives you the trend of the market, because when it gives you a buy signal, we would presume that the trend in the market is in the upward direction. When it gives you a sell signal, we presume that the trend of the market is in the downward direction. What we also looked at is
Rohit sir, Rishikesh here, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There is a request if you can mix it up with a small pinch of Hindi, if possible.
Mix it up with
Hindi, if possible.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
तो मैं हिंदी में गया तो फिर पूरा ही हिंदी हो जाएगा.
नहीं, mixed है जाएगा सर.
Yeah, because you don't realize when you're in Hindi and when you're in English. मेन कॉन्सेप्ट तो ठीक है, आई विल ट्राई. सो मेन कॉन्सेप्ट हमने क्या समझा अभी तक कि इंडिकेटर में कौन से बाय सेल सिग्नल्स इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. दोज दैट अकर बिलो द जीरो लाइन, मतलब जो एक जीरो लाइन है मोमेंटम का, मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर उस जीरो लाइन के ऊपर और नीचे की तरफ दोनों तरफ घूमता है, और जब नीचे की तरफ जाने के बाद ऊपर आता है वो बाय सिग्नल ज्यादा जरूरी है, जो कि बाय सिग्नल्स जो जीरो के लाइन के ऊपर बाय सेल करके आते रहते हैं वो जरा कम जरूरी है. मैं ये सब कुछ आपको ट्रेड टाइगर प्लेटफॉर्म पे भी अभी दिखाऊंगा, तो घबराइए मत कि ये सिर्फ थियोरेटिकल मैं सिर्फ दिखा रहा हूँ, क्योंकि कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स इसमें जो मैं बता रहा हूँ कुछ लोगों के लिए नए होंगे, इसलिए मैंने इसको थियोरेटिकली पहले दिखा रहा हूँ, फिर उसको प्रैक्टिकली देखेंगे. तो मैंने ये भी बताया कि सेल सिग्नल्स जो जरूरी हैं वो हैं जो जीरो लाइन के ऊपर से आते हैं, सो कंप्लीटली ऑपोजिट टू व्हाट वी हैव सीन इन द बाय सिग्नल. और ये बाय और सेल सिग्नल्स जो आरएमआई पे आते हैं, ये टिपिकल जो इंडिकेटर आप जितने यूज करेंगे मार्केट में उससे करीब आई थिंक एटलीस्ट 2 days फास्टर आते हैं. और इस इंडिकेटर के 1-2 वेरिएशंस भी हैं जो हमने बनाए, वो भी मैं बताऊंगा लॉन्ग साइड और शॉर्ट साइड के लिए, ताकि आपको फास्टर एग्जिट्स भी मिल पाए. बट पहले इसका यूटिलिटी और इसके जो मेन जो थ्योरी पार्ट है उसको समझ लें. तो सबसे पहले हमने देखा बाय सेल इंपॉर्टेंट सिग्नल्स कौन से हैं. दूसरी चीज हमने देखी कि पूरा एक साइकिल कैसे बनता है जीरो लाइन के हिसाब से. ये दूसरी चीज हमने समझ ली. अभी तीसरी चीज जो हमें समझनी है जो इधर बताई गई है कि नेगेटिव और पॉजिटिव डाइवर्जेंसेस, तो ये क्या होते हैं इसको हम लोग देख लेते हैं. भाव जो है वो कई बार ऊपर की तरफ कई साइकिल्स में चलता जाता है. It keeps moving and then it rolls over. तो ये जैसे हो रहा है, इसके साथ साथ जब हम लोग एक मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर को भी प्लॉट करते हैं तो व्हाट वी एंड अप सीइंग इज दैट द मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर एट द बॉटम ऑफ द चार्ट may actually move up to a certain point, may have some variations going on, and then somewhere at the fag end will look something like this. Okay, In fact, a better representation would be something like this. So what ends up happening over here, and now we are plotting it, let me plot it along with the crossover. So I have a 9-day EMA. So 9 EMA का मतलब है 9-day exponential moving average, जो इसी इंडिकेटर के 9 दिनों का एक एवरेज लेके हम लोग प्लॉट कर रहे हैं. ओके, और ये इस तरह हमें बाय सेल सिग्नल दे रहा है. तो इसमें दो चीज आती हैं हमारे पास. एक है कि पूछेंगे एंट्री तो मैंने यहाँ पे ले ली, दिस इज अ बाय सिग्नल, मैंने यहाँ पे एंट्री ले ली. ओके, जहाँ पे भी है ये समझिए कि यहाँ पे है, मैंने एंट्री ले ली. अब एग्जिट कहाँ पे लूंगा? तो इसके दो तीन तरीके हैं. तरीका नंबर 1 है कि मैं एग्जिट सेल सिग्नल पे ही ले सकता हूँ, जो कि यहाँ पे आया. ओके, बट कई बार ऐसा होगा कि सेल सिग्नल आने के बाद भी भाव थोड़ा और ऊपर जाता है, और भाव जब ये न्यू हाई पे जा रहा है, व्हेन वी आर मेकिंग अ न्यू हाई इन प्राइस, we are really not making a new high in the indicator. So this amounts to a negative divergence. So many times prices will continue to move higher and higher, even after the indicator is rolled over, but we continue to develop negative divergences. So the second thing that we watch out for sometimes is that do we really wait for a negative divergence before we take the decision to exit? Okay. So we should be aware of these divergences. They often occur at the fag end of a trend, and so when we actually spot a divergence, we know that we are coming closer to a reversal. ये चीज तभी भी ज्यादा होती है जब ट्रेंड बहुत स्ट्रांग है. So when you're in a very strong upward trend, like in a bull market, typically you will find divergences occurring, at each and every top. And the reverse of that is, during a bear market, you will find a lot of divergences occurring at the bottoms because market keeps falling. And then at the fag end, you start getting positive divergences. So this is the first concept to remember, that you will get divergences between the indicator and price. But then again, the question will be, where do I still exit? So then we add one more layer of confirmation. हमें एक और confirmation चाहिए. Sell signal तो आ गया, और divergence बन भी सकता है कभी, नहीं भी बन सकता है कभी. तो हम ये additional confirmation किस तरह लेंगे? तो इसके दो तरीके हैं. आप या तो एक मूविंग एवरेज यूज कर सकते हो या एक ट्रेंड लाइन यूज कर सकते हो. कोई भी मूविंग एवरेज आप पकड़ लें जिससे आपका कंफर्ट आ जाए. 10 डे 20 डे कोई भी एक भाव के ऊपर आप प्लॉट करेंगे तो आपको ऐसा नजर आएगा कि जब ट्रेंड स्ट्रांग है, ओके, टिल द ट्रेंड इज इन फोर्स, दैट मूविंग एवरेज विल कंटिन्यू टू ट्रेल बिलो द प्राइस. ओके, सो इट विल कंटिन्यू टू मूव बिलो द प्राइस till the point where the trend is going to reverse. So even after you get a sell signal, prices will break this moving average at a later point of time. Now, if you're not comfortable with a moving average, you can also use a trend line. So you may want to check whether a trend line is getting broken or is it being held at that point of time. So a combination of sell signal, okay, a sell signal can be a fair combination of the indicator plus either a moving average or a trend line. Okay, so this gives you a pretty fair combined sense of where do you exit. So you're looking at divergences, you're looking at the moving average, and you're looking at a trend line. This sort of helps you further fine tune your exits. Okay, but as you'll see, many times you might not even need to do a lot of all this. The indicator itself in a very trending market is pretty smooth. If you just take the last 9 months, all the buy and sell signals sort of captured the entire move of the market, which we'll just look at. But there are times where a particular trend extends, and there you might want an additional confirmation. So you can either choose a moving average or you can choose a trend line as an additional confirmation to a trend reversal. Now, इसमें दो तरह के divergences होते हैं. What we have seen here is a normal negative divergence, normal bearish divergence, where prices make a higher high, but the indicator does not make a higher high. I'll show you a different situation which you can face, which is that at some point of time, as prices are going higher, it starts to, pause slightly. Okay, it's doing something like this and then going up. And while this is happening to price, what ends up happening to the indicator below is that the indicator starts making lower lows. So when you get this kind of a reverse divergence is when prices are still making higher lows, but the indicator is making lower lows. This is also a sort of bullish divergence that builds into price. Okay, so you have both bullish and bearish divergences. Now you could have a bearish divergence of a similar type, जहाँ पे अगर भाव नीचे की तरफ जा रहा है, ओके, और बीच में कहीं पे ऐसे रुकता है, हमें यहाँ पे लगने लगता है कि there are positive divergences or something, maybe prices will go up because it is slowing down. But when we look at the indicator, we find that the indicator at the lower end is starting to do something like this. तो एक डाइवर्जेंस बन जाता है दोनों के बीच में, जहां पे prices are making lower highs and the indicator is making slightly higher highs. तो इस तरह का जब डाइवर्जेंस बनता है तो दिस इज अ बेरिश डाइवर्जेंस. These are basic concepts to divergences. जो बहुत ही सिंपल वाला डाइवर्जेंस है वो जो मैंने शुरू में दिखाया, that is the easiest one to first get your head around, which is that prices are going up, and as prices make this high, you will find that the indicator does not confirm that new high, which means indicator goes here, and then at this point it makes a lower high. So this is the simplest bearish divergence, where a new high in the price of the stock or the security is not confirmed by a new high in price. The reverse of that will also occur on the way down, ki prices are falling. Okay, and when they reverse, prior to that, you will find that indicator is falling, and then here it stops making a new low and then turns, and so you end up with a bullish divergence, where the indicator is making a higher bottom, whereas prices are still falling lower. So the indicator is not confirming the new low that the price is making. So this ends up being a bullish divergence. Okay, so now these are all the concepts that go into using any technical momentum indicator. And specifically, if you're using this, there are some additional things that I've highlighted as important, meaning things like the zero line and the use of a trend line or a moving average as an additional confirmation tool. So that sort of completes your tool set. Now we look at real examples, and we look at the indicator variations that we have. So we've looked at the zero line concept. We've looked at positive and negative divergences. We looked at moving average and trend lines for confirmation, and the use. And then we'll go into how do you apply this across time frames. A copy of this presentation will be sent to you. So what I've tried to do is whatever I am explaining in terms of plotting the RMI, it plots along with a 9 EMA, which gives you buy and sell signals, using the zero line, using momentum divergences. All of them have been explained on these sheets, so it should be a quick reference guide for you. Okay, so don't worry about that. And when it comes to execution, I have specified that सबसे जरूरी है buy और sell signal किधर आ रहा है, zero line के ऊपर या नीचे, and we may actually wait for a negative or positive divergence when the trend is very, very strong, when prices have moved a lot in our favor, and then possibly use a moving average or a trend line to additionally confirm whether the trend has reversed. Because sometimes otherwise what ends up happening is you will take an early exit from a particular trend. But usually in a fast moving bear market, you find that buy and sell signals can be very swift and very quick. Okay. Okay. Now before we go to so this page explains multi-time frame. So before we go there, now let's look at the live case. Now I'm going to TradeTiger. We look at an actual example. This is the entire Nifty stock list in front of you. What we're going to do is going to plot the chart of Nifty and the indicator. So the first thing I did is I double clicked on Nifty, so we end up with a one chart of Nifty. Okay, and now if I want to plot the indicator, all I have to do is press the insert key. Okay, and sorry, not insert key, S key. Okay, and then choose the Rohit momentum. You'll find that over here there are actually three variations. I'll explain each one of them: Rohit long momentum, Rohit momentum, and Rohit short momentum. Okay, the Rohit momentum is the most base indicator. There are also two options here. The speed is the standard plot setting that I use. I've kept it open in case people want to, increase the time or reduce the time that the system is really using. And the signal line is essentially the 9 EMA crossover for buy sell signal. So this is the standard setup, which I think is sufficient. You really don't need to change it, but people like to play around, which is why we've included it over here. So moment I click apply, you find that it has plotted at the bottom of the chart. I'm going to remove the volume just so that we can focus on the indicator itself. Okay, so now this is a weekly chart. I'm going to switch to a daily chart. Okay, so when you see the daily chart, what you'll find now, if you just look at a couple of these cycles from January to now, and in fact from April to now, you'll notice on this chart how several of the moves are pretty clean. Okay, so say for example, यहाँ पे एक sell signal आया है. Okay, I don't know if I can change the size of annotations in this.
So you can zoom in the chart, I guess. It will be better.
That I can do. Okay, it's here on the left hand side.
Friends, he's maximizing the chart. There are lots of requests. He's doing it.
Yeah. So you see, यहाँ पे हमें एक सेल सिग्नल मिला. ओके, ये सेल सिग्नल आने के बाद ये इंडिकेटर सेल में है थ्रू आउट, और ये सेल सिग्नल जीरो लाइन, दिस डॉटेड लाइन इज द जीरो लाइन, पूरा नीचे जाके उसके बाद ही आपको बाय सिग्नल आया है बॉटम में. ओके, सो दिस इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज इसमें जो एंटायर मूव है, don't know why this is why is it coming cross again and again. Okay, ये जो एंटायर मूव है ये पूरा कैप्चर हो जाता है इधर से इधर का. फिर इसके बाद यहाँ पे जब बाय सिग्नल आ रहा है तो देन दिस एंटायर मूव गेट्स कैप्चर्ड, देन यू गेट अ फ्रेश सिग्नल ओवर, सेल सिग्नल ओवर हियर, and the next signal doesn't occur till down here. So you actually see the feasibility of looking at something like this. Again, here it's given a buy signal and it's sort of riding this entire trend. Till date, you do not have another sell signal. Now, at times you do get whipsaws, which is like this, which is where I said the use of trend lines or moving averages become important to further confirming whether there's a reversal. So you can easily draw any of those tools on top of the chart and make it useful. But right now, I would say simply use the indicator. First, get used to using the indicator itself. When you're in a very strong trend, like at the end of this move, you will get divergences. So this is where if I actually use a trend line for this entire move, okay. And then if I'm actually looking at this sell signal, okay, and at that point of time you'll find it doesn't really break the trend line. So I would still hang on to my long position all the way till there's a negative divergence, further negative divergence with price, which means prices are making a higher high, the indicator is not making a higher high. And once you're in that setup, it's the break that finally confirms the reversal. Now, in many cases, like you can see this signal here, in many cases, it sort of helps you riding a significant part of the move till you get the next sell signal. Okay, so if you're in an up-down market, you'll get utility of both the long and short side signals. If you're in a bullish market, you'll use only the long side signal. So what does that mean? And that is where multi-time frame analysis also kicks in. Okay, now before I go to multi-time frame, I'll also show two variations to the indicator. You may not immediately see the difference, but what I'll tell you is that you actually get quicker exits. So if, for example, if I'm trading the long side, I use what is known as the Rohit long momentum. Okay, so when I plot this, what tends to happen is that sometimes the sell signal is a day or so ahead of the Rohit momentum indicator. Okay, so sometimes it will actually give you a 1 day early exit, and that is why if I'm trading the bullish side of the market, I actually like to use the long momentum versus the short momentum. Now, what is the difference that we've done to speed up this indicator? You may visually notice it or not. So I'll just show you. Is that you notice that the standard indicator will go way down below the zero line when prices are falling. But what we have done in the long momentum, we've actually compressed the downside, so it doesn't go a lot down, and we've actually skewed the upside, so it actually goes up a lot more, and therefore in that sense it tends to reverse also quickly from there, and that is why it sometimes will give you a signal a day or so ahead of the standard indicator. So more useful for exits. Now what I'm going to do is going to show you the exact opposite. If you're somebody who trades the short side, you will want to plot the inverse of that, the Rohit short momentum. The short momentum, as you'll visually see, is actually an upside down picture of the long momentum. With again, what we have done is the same thing on the opposite side. We have skewed the sell side of the indicator, so it actually goes up a lot more compared to what it was doing over here. Whereas the bullish side has been suppressed, so it goes sort of flat over here. The reason to do this again is the same, that once we get a sell signal, like here now, because we are plotting it upside down, this green buy signal is actually a shorting signal. And once we get this sell signal, we want to get a very quick exit signal from here or here, so that we are able to move out of the position quickly. And that is what this helps you to do. But as a first step, if you're using these indicators for the first time, I would say you stick to the most base setup, which is don't quickly start with the long and short momentum indicators. You probably just want to, stick with the Rohit momentum, the standard indicator, get used to it, and then only move on to the other variations. That is my recommendation to everyone. Also get used to the idea of cycles. Like I said, that the buy signals which are important are the ones which are occurring from below the line. So if you actually look at this chart, this buy signal is significant, but what would you do of all these buy signals? These are not the most important ones. They're all occurring midway in the trend, and sometimes can actually end up being false signals or late signals also. So the main one which occurs is one which occurs from below, because once an uptrend is complete and you've got a pullback, that's when you're starting. So if this is complete and then you're starting a new cycle, that's the signal you really want to start by taking a fresh trade for an entire move. Okay, where you're actually thinking of riding an entire cycle all the way up and then all the way down, which is how I look at it. Essentially, not really looking at trading tick to tick, but trading an entire move from start to end. You want to actually capture that right from the beginning, and so it builds two things into you. One is the patience to wait for the next trend, and when you actually get that next signal from below the line, be prepared and to act on it. So that's the most important thing, that you're there and you're watching every day what these signals are really showing you. So for example, why wouldn't you want to be into this market at this entry point for this entire move? It's been almost a 1500 point rally from there, and repeatedly we've seen these kind of movements occur. Now you may say that, okay, I don't want to trade this long time horizon, because here what I'm seeing is one buy sell cycle, ये जो पूरा एक move है, takes a couple of weeks. तो 2-3 हफ्ते तक लग सकते हैं इसको कंप्लीट होने में, और उतने लंबे दौर तक मुझे खड़ा रहना पड़ेगा. बट मुझे 4-5 दिन का ही सौदा करना है. तो ये 4-5 दिन का सौदा कैसे होगा? तो इसको समझने के लिए और कोई भी, अगर आपको चलो 4-5 दिन का भी सौदा नहीं करना है, आपको 15 दिन का भी करना है, किस तरफ करना है? आपको तेजी का सौदा लेना चाहिए कि मंदी का सौदा, कि हर सौदा लेना चाहिए? अगर आप हर सौदा लोगे तो आप नुकसान में रहोगे. क्यों रहोगे नुकसान में? It's also very important to understand. Okay, I just remove the annotations to show you. it's very easy when people see these whipsaws, they probably think that these are, the indicators not working, which is not true. Okay, so if you actually use a trend line or a moving average along with it, it will work pretty well. But the real point is that all these signals, okay, the larger trend is up. Okay, so you want to be on the bullish side, you want to go long here, and then you want to just hold on for this entire move. So all these mid buy and sell signals are actually of no good, and they're actually not to be used. In fact, definitely not to use the sell signals. You're not supposed to go short every time. In an upward trend, you're not supposed to go short. So how do you determine whether your trend is up or down? And that's where multi-time frame analysis really comes into the picture. So let's now just take this one step ahead. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to pin this to the right hand side. Okay, so now I have one chart which is showing me the daily chart. I usually keep 3 charts open as I've gotten used to on my screen. I usually have the daily, weekly and the hourly, all 3 really open, which then allows me to get a sense of what a particular market is trying to do or planning to do. And it also allows me to be on the right side of the trade. So let's just open 2 time frames here to get a sense. I'll start with daily and weekly. Later I'll look at weekly and hourly. So if you're really looking at trading 4-5 day kind of time frame, then the daily and hourly is more useful. If you're looking at more positional trades, then the weekly and daily is more useful. But let's first get the concept and then we can switch to any time frame. And concept ऐसा है कि if I open the chart, ये मैंने नया अभी second chart खोला है. Okay, ये भी एक निफ्टी का ही चार्ट खोल रहा हूँ. नहीं, ये बजाज को खोला है. चलो निफ्टी पे स्विच कर देते हैं. ओके, और इसमें ऐसा ऑप्शन है कि हम लोग जितने चार्ट्स हैं ना उनको लिंक कर सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे मैंने दोनों को लिंक किया हुआ है. तो क्या होता है कि मैं अगर एक चार्ट निफ्टी का खोलता हूँ तो दूसरा भी निफ्टी का ही खुल जाता है. तो द एडवांटेज ऑफ दिस इज दैट इफ आई एम यूजिंग 2 टाइम फ्रेम्स और दोनों टाइम फ्रेम पे मैंने रोहित मोमेंटम लगा लिया है. तो यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हैं ये वीकली चार्ट है. वीकली चार्ट पे भी मैंने रोहित मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर लगा लिया है. डेली चार्ट पे भी मैंने रोहित मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर लगा लिया है. अगर हम शुरू से अगर देखें, यहाँ से बाय सिग्नल आया ग्रीन एरो के साथ और ये पूरे समय एक बाय सिग्नल बना रहा. तो जब तक हमारा ट्रेंड ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा है और एक बाय सिग्नल बना हुआ है, व्हाई डू वी रियली वांट टू बी शॉर्ट ऑन दिस मार्केट? सिंपल सी बात है कि अगर ओवरऑल ट्रेंड ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा है तो हमें तेजी का ही ट्रेंड खेलना है. मतलब आई वांट टू बी इन द लॉन्ग एग्जिट ट्रेड. ओके, वॉल्यूम हटा देता हूं सो यू कैन एक्चुअली सी बोथ साइड्स इंडिकेटर्स. तो अगर यहाँ पे बाय है, वीकली में अगर बाय है, तो मुझे डेली चार्ट पे अगर मैं सेम टाइम फ्रेम पे चला जाता हूँ, सेम टाइम पीरियड, डेली चार्ट पे हर बाय सिग्नल को ट्रेड करना है. ओके, सो आई वांट टू ट्रेड ऑन दिस बाय सिग्नल. I may want to exit on this sell signal. I may want to go long again. So I am doing long exit, long riding it as long as I can with a trend line or a moving average and then exit. So if I keep doing that, okay, so just for the sake of reference, let me plot let's say a 20-day moving average, okay, or a 40 or a 50. Some people like the 50, whatever time frame you find comfort in. तो कभी कभी 50 जो है वो बहुत लंबा हो जाता है. तो there are too many. Okay, so if I use a average here, I've tried to put the 20 on top of it. तो आप देखोगे कि consistently भाव जो है मूविंग एवरेज के साथ चलता जा रहा है till this entire trend. And this entire trend I would try to attempt to hold on to long positions. Now even if I do exit, मुझे लगे कि चलो ये बहुत ऊपर बढ़ गया, मैंने बेच दिया, शॉर्ट नहीं करना है. क्यों शॉर्ट नहीं करना है? क्योंकि लार्जर हायर ट्रेंड पे ट्रेंड इज इन बाय मोड. तो जब तक हायर टाइम फ्रेम पे ट्रेंड बाय मोड में है, मेरे को सिर्फ लॉन्ग करना है, एग्जिट करना है, लॉन्ग करना है, एग्जिट करना है. सिमिलरली अगर लार्जर ट्रेंड डाउनवर्ड मोड में है, सेल मोड में है, जैसे यहाँ पे सेल सिग्नल आया और यहाँ से फिर नीचे जा रहा है, तो उस फेज में मुझे शॉर्ट करना है, एग्जिट करना है, शॉर्ट करना है, एग्जिट करना है। ऐसा क्यों करना है? क्योंकि इफ यू ट्राई टू ट्रेड बोथ वेज, आप नोटिस करोगे कि ज्यादातर जो ट्रेड्स हैं वो गलत जाएंगे, तो नेट नेट आप शायद प्रॉफिट नहीं कर पाओगे। मोस्ट ऑफ द प्रॉफिटेबल ट्रेड्स ऑलवेज कम इन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द मेन ट्रेंड। ये बहुत ही सिंपल सी चीज है, इसको हम लोग कोई भी टाइम फ्रेम के साथ मिला के इस चीज को प्रूव कर सकते हैं। अगर इसमें आर्ली चार्ट भी ले लूं, ओके, तो मैंने आर्ली चार्ट लगा लिया, ओके, तो आर्ली चार्ट पे अभी देखिए ये एक पूरा मूव है, ओके। डेली चार्ट पे आप देख रहे हो कि बाय सिग्नल आया इधर, मतलब इस पॉइंट पे, ओके, इस पॉइंट पे आपको एक बाय सिग्नल आया डेली चार्ट पे। उसके बाद आर्ली चार्ट पे आपने अगर इधर लॉन्ग किया, फिर एग्जिट किया, फिर इधर लॉन्ग किया, फिर एग्जिट किया, फिर इधर लॉन्ग किया, फिर एग्जिट किया, तो यू एक्चुअली हैव 1, 2, 3 trades on the long side as long as the daily remains in buy mode. So as long as daily is in buy mode, you want to keep buying, then exiting, buying, then exiting, buying, then exiting. That is the basic setup you want to really take. So that sort of keeps you on the right side of the trend, because क्या होता है कि अपवर्ड ट्रेंड में जो पुलबैक्स होते हैं ना, वो कई बार बड़े नहीं होते। अभी इस चार्ट में आपको शायद लगे कि नहीं ये तो काफी है, कई बार नहीं होते हैं। जैसे आप अगर इधर देखेंगे, पूरा ट्रेंड बहुत ही स्ट्रांग है, इसमें ये 3 दिन का छोटा सा पुलबैक है, इट इज रियली नॉट वर्थ ट्रेडिंग फॉर इन द वेरी शॉर्ट टर्म। वो जब तक बॉटमों के बाउंस होता है तब तक आपका ट्रेड जो है वो फंस जाता है। तो दैट इज व्हाई वी ट्रेड इन द डायरेक्शन। जो डायरेक्शन ऊपर का है, सबसे ज्यादा मूव्स ऊपर के आएंगे, तो आप उधर एग्जिट करके अगला बॉटम पकड़ने का कोशिश करो। हर बार हर हाई और हर लो को पकड़ने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो एक ट्रेंड के डायरेक्शन में हर बॉटम को पकड़ो अगर तेजी का ट्रेंड है, और अगर मंदी का ट्रेंड है तो हर टॉप को पकड़ो। तो यहाँ से एक बार मंदी का ट्रेंड, यहाँ पे सेल सिग्नल आ गया, तो उसके बाद मुझे आर्ली चार्ट पे हर सेल सिग्नल पे ट्रेड करके शॉर्ट ही करना है। इसमें नाउ वी आर लिमिटेड टू 30 days, बट इफ यू एक्चुअली लुक बैक यू विल फाइंड कि यहाँ पे भी यहाँ बाउंस आया, यहाँ से सेल करना है, ये जो 2 दिन बाउंस आया यहाँ से सेल करना है। एक बार मन बना लिया तो इस चीज को आप फिर आर्ली पे स्केल कर पाओगे। जिस तरह यहाँ पे बाय सेल सिग्नल्स आर्ली पे 3-4 बार आ रहे हैं, वैसे ये इंटायर फॉल में आर्ली पे आपको कई बार बाय सेल बाय सेल बाय सेल 3-4 बार आएगा, और हर आप उस मूव को फिर सेल साइड पे ही कैप्चर करोगे, क्योंकि ओवरऑल यू आर इन अ डाउनवर्ड ट्रेंड विद अ सेल सिग्नल। So basic point is, if the daily is in sell, then hourly you always trade short, exit, short, exit, short, exit. Similarly for a positional trade, if the weekly is in buy, then the daily will do long exit, long exit, long exit, and so on. So that is the basic premise of how you do multi-time frame analysis. Eventually, you can even as a long-term investor आप इस चीज को मंथली या क्वार्टरली चार्ट पे भी कर सकते हो कि आपको क्वार्टरली या मंथली पूरा ट्रेंड कैप्चर करना है। अभी आप यहाँ देखोगे कि जैसे पूरे ट्रेंड्स हैं यहाँ पे 2009 का इंटायर मूव पूरा तक, और ये जो करेक्शन आया, if you remember the sine wave I showed you right in the beginning, in higher time frames you find this very smooth. This is one entire cycle, okay, upward move pull back, फिर वहां से नया एक साइकिल शुरू हो गया, upward move pull back, तो ये पूरा मूव यहाँ तक आ गया, and so on. So each time the market pulls back for 6 to 12 months, you find that the indicator goes back to zero, and you're repeatedly able to apply yourself. So अभी भी एक ऐसा ही दौर चल रहा है where you got a buy signal on the monthly here. This entire move went up. Now it is in sell mode. So it is a patience game till the next cycle really starts. So I if you're really doing investing in positional trading, keep at least weekly for taking your decisions. एनालिसिस जब कर रहे हैं लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए तो आप मंथली क्वार्टरली भी देखोगे, बट फाइनली उस चीज को एग्जीक्यूट कर रहे हो तो आप वीकली, डेली, आर्ली तीनों के इस्तेमाल से एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हो। तो उन तीनों को मैं यूजुअली अपने स्क्रीन पे रखता हूं। एंड देन वी गो टू अनदर लेवल। सी, मार्केट में बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स हैं, किस पे ट्रेड करें? ये वाले पे करें, अगले वाले पे करें, आज क्या करें, आज किस पे सौदा मारना है? तो ये सवाल जब आपके मन में उठेगा तो आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि एक स्टॉक में कौन से में बाय आ रहा है, कौन से में सेल आ रहा है, कौन सा कहाँ है इस सेटअप पे, और कितने स्टॉक्स देखूं तो इसलिए हमने एक स्कैनर बनाया जो कि यहाँ टूल्स में मैंने जैसे क्लिक किया टूल्स, यहाँ आप देखोगे रोहित स्कैनर। रोहित स्कैनर जो काम करता है ये हर स्टॉक को हर मल्टीपल टाइम फ्रेम्स पे ब्रेक करके आपको बता देता है कि मंथली, वीकली, डेली और आवर्ली पे क्या सिग्नल्स हैं। तो नया बाय सिग्नल है, नया सेल सिग्नल है, मतलब जब वो 9 EMA से क्रॉसओवर ले रहा है, और एक एक्जिस्टिंग बाय मोड है, मतलब बाय में है, मतलब इट इज ऑलरेडी इन बाय मोड, ग्रीन इज अबव द रेड, वो चलता जा रहा है बाय में चलता जा रहा है। जब एक नया सिग्नल आता है तो यहाँ पे लिखा रहेगा न्यू बाय या न्यू सेल। तो आप इसको फर्दर फिल्टर डाउन भी कर सकते हो, क्योंकि आपने जैसे अभी समझा कि मल्टी टाइम फ्रेम एनालिसिस में मुझे क्या ढूंढना है कि जो स्टॉक्स वीकली में बाय में है उसको मैं डेली में ट्रेड करता हूँ, ठीक है। तो वीकली में बाय कौन सा है, मैंने लिस्ट कर लिया, ये सब वीकली में बाय है। और वही चीज की डेली में मुझे फ्रेश बाय सिग्नल चाहिए कि वीकली में तो बाय है, डेली में कहां पे बाय सिग्नल दे रहा है। तो मैंने नैरो डाउन कर दिया कि न्यू बाय सिग्नल्स कौन से हैं। तो आया सिर्फ एक आज, HDFC बैंक। एक्चुअली कल की क्लोजिंग का मोस्ट प्रोबेबली डेटा रहेगा, जहां मैंने वीकली और डेली डाल दिया है। तो इसको प्लॉट करने के लिए जस्ट राइट क्लिक एंड डू व्यू चार्ट। तो व्यू चार्ट करते ही जो भी स्टॉक है वो आपके सामने खुल जाता है। अभी आप देख सकते हैं वीकली में बाय सिग्नल 4 हफ्ते पहले आया था और बाय मोड में ही है। और आपको क्या चाहिए कि डेली में नया बाय सिग्नल कहां पे आ रहा है। तो लास्ट वाला यहां पे आया था और अभी नेक्स्ट वाला यहां पे आ रहा है। ओके, तो आपको ये ग्रीन एरो दिख जाता है जो बताता है कि कहां पे क्रॉसओवर हो रहा है। ओके, एंड दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ गिव्स यू एन इंडिकेशन कि हाँ ये अभी सिग्नल यहाँ पे आ रहा है। तो नाउ दिस इज अ फ्रेश ट्रेड दैट यू हैव गॉट in HDFC Bank based on the last closing. तो स्कैनर में you can actually see there are two modes. It's called the last candle close. मैंने अभी बताया आपको कि ये लास्ट क्लोजिंग का सिग्नल है, and there is a live mode. The live mode should be active in the next release of TradeTiger. What the live mode will do is कि अगर करंट बार पे भी सिग्नल आ रहा है तो वो सिग्नल आपको इमीडिएटली बता देगा कि करंट बार पे सिग्नल आ सकता है। It doesn't mean it is a signal. It means that it can come, because remember that all indicators are calculated on closing price. जो closing भाव है दिन का या घंटे का, एक घंटे का, वो जो भाव है उसके बेसिस पे मोमेंटम इंडिकेटर्स कैलकुलेट होते हैं। तो जब तक वो एक घंटा खत्म नहीं हुआ या एक दिन खत्म नहीं हुआ या एक हफ्ता खत्म नहीं हुआ है तब तक वो कंफर्म नहीं होता है। बट लाइव मोड में आप ये देख सकते हो कि हाँ आज कौन से सिग्नल्स आ सकते हैं। तो करीब 3-3:30 बजे यू कैन एक्चुअली सी इन लाइव मोड कि हाँ इस पे आज बाय सिग्नल आ सकता है, और अगर भाव यहाँ पे क्लोज हो रहा है तो ये बाय सिग्नल बन चुका है। तो सेम वे अगर जिसको इंट्राडे ट्रेड करना है वो आर्ली पे देखना चाहेगा या 15 मिनट पे देखना चाहेगा कि लेटेस्ट लाइव सिग्नल में कौन सा बाय सिग्नल आ रहा है। बट करेंटली इट्स नॉट, द लाइव मोड इज नॉट रनिंग फॉर द हायर टाइम फ्रेम्स, डेली वीकली टाइम फ्रेम्स, जो कि नेक्स्ट रिलीज में एक्टिवेट हो जाएगा। करेंटली व्हाट इट विल शो यू इज कि लास्ट कैंडल पे कौन से सिग्नल्स आ रहे हैं, मतलब लास्ट बार जो आज के क्लोजिंग के पहले वाला बार है। जैसे आज सुबह अगर मैं खोलता हूँ ट्रेड टाइगर और मैं रन करता हूँ तो मुझे कल के क्लोजिंग के बेसिस पे जितने सिग्नल्स आएंगे वो इस पे दिख जाएंगे कि कल क्या क्या, कल के क्लोजिंग पे क्या क्या बाय सेल सिग्नल्स आए हैं, और उसके बेसिस पे मैं फिर ये स्कैन रन कर सकता हूँ। तो इसमें मैं ऐसा भी देख सकता हूँ कि डेली और वीकली में दोनों में बाय कौन सा है। ओके, सो यू कैन हैव अ लार्जर लिस्ट, क्या ये दोनों में बाय है, और मुझे आर्ली में उसका न्यू बाय देखना है। तो न्यू बाय तो कुछ है नहीं, बाय मोड में कहीं है। So you can actually filter out in different ways that you want. Now you want to filter out only new buy signals on the hourly and weekly. You can look at it that way. So अलग अलग ऑप्शन है, जिस तरह आपको स्क्रीनिंग करना है आप उस तरह स्क्रीन कर सकते हो। The advantage of this is that once you have a list, okay, if you just want to see only the new buy signals of a particular day, week or hour, you have narrowed down the number of stocks you need to look at. 4-5 आ जाएंगे जिनको आपको स्टडी करना है, और उसके बारे में और इन डेप्थ स्टडी करने के बाद आप ट्रेड ले सकते हैं। बिकॉज स्टडिंग हंड्रेड्स ऑफ स्टॉक्स इज नॉट रियली इजी, आप अगर 4 चीज को स्टडी करेंगे और आपके और भी शायद अगर दूसरी चीजें जो इसमें आप देखना चाहते हो कि भाई हायर लो बन रहा है कि नहीं, आप कोई और इंडिकेटर भी इस पे लगाते हो, RSI लगा के देखना चाहते हो, वो सब आप कर सकते हो वंस आफ्टर नैरोइंग डाउन द लिस्ट की कहाँ पे सिग्नल्स आ रहे हैं और उसमें आपका सेटअप बैठ रहा है कि नहीं. सो दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ स्पीड्स अप द प्रोसेस ऑफ डूइंग दिस. My additional tool of adding over and above these things is Elliott wave analysis. Of course, that we cannot go into depth over here, but it adds much more weightage to an existing signal or a trade in terms of what is the wave setup. Then you have a buy sell signal, and then we actually take a decision. So that is sort of the way I go about doing it. But the trade decision making, see, where people get lost is once you have taken a view कि हाँ अच्छा लग रहा है, how do you really execute? And वहाँ पे यही सब काम आता है. So Elliott waves is a useful tool for taking a view, but when it comes to execution, you need classical technical tools, and having an indicator that gives you quick buy and sell signal is where the RMI has played an important role for me. So that's what it is. Okay, so we've just looked at how multi-time frame is done and how the scanner actually helps you quickly come up with a list of stocks that are giving you across time frame buy sell signals. And what you'll really need to do is go back and practice this for a while. It should give you a better sense. Like I said, I've explained most of these points here in this PPT, so you can actually go over it again, and that should further enhance your understanding of the system. Okay, so you're always using a minimum of 2 time frames, as is mentioned over here. Okay, you can eventually get used to 3 time frames. Like I said, I always have hourly, daily, and weekly on my screen because sometimes you want to look at the longer term, so you have weekly also, and sometimes you are doing shorter term trades in futures or options. Then you use the daily hourly combination is extremely useful for the futures and options market. Or if you're an intraday trader, you might even want to run it on smaller time frames, but that's completely based on what you are comfortable doing, so we can't really recommend what is each one's individual comfort. But the primary trend is always determined by the higher time frame. जो higher time frame पे buy या sell signal है, वो determine करता है कि किस direction में आपको सौदा मारना है, और फिर वो सौदा आपको lower time frame में मारना है. मतलब अगर daily buy में है तो hourly में मुझे buy exit करना है. Okay. तो लोअर टाइम फ्रेम पे एग्जीक्यूशन होता है, हायर टाइम फ्रेम पे व्यू लेते हैं. सिंपल सी बात है. एंड तो यही चीज को मैंने यहाँ डिटेल में बाय एग्जिट को एक्सप्लेन किया और सेल एग्जिट को एक्सप्लेन किया है. सो आई थिंक दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ सम्स अप द इंडिकेटर एंड इट्स यूजेस in this. If there are any questions, we can take them.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was really an enlightened session. I'm sure everyone would have already gotten answers for some of their doubts. I will just take some common doubts which I already looked at in the chat box when the session was on. Okay, very first doubt was, is it free or paid? So for all Sharekhan customers, if you have a Sharekhan account, you all know the TradeTiger software, and you can easily use it on TradeTiger software. It's completely free. There are no charges for it. Regarding the recorded sessions, tomorrow the recording session will be available on the Sharekhan Classrooms Action Replay tab. By tomorrow evening, ideally, under the traders section, the recording of it will be available. You just have to log in, and you'll be able to see that recording n number of times. Okay. For the Sharekhan customers, on their registered email address, we will also share the link of this recorded version, which I just now mentioned, so you can go through it later. And then there were questions about multi charts. How do you open multiple charts, divergences, and trend lines? So I would just like to tell you, friends, in the classroom section, we have a trading toolbox tab where we talk about these basic things which we learned from Rohit sir. Okay, so we talk about moving averages, we talk about RSI divergences, so you'll get a basic idea about these technical jargons which Rohit sir used, which many of you were not comfortable with. I could learn that in the chat section. You can go through these small videos to understand them. And there are also our YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, Rohit sir already have 2 YouTube videos with regards to trend lines and trend channels, so you can definitely go through them. Having said that, there was a question, sir, regarding a specific question as to in the case of HDFC Bank, when the signal was getting explained. So the question was, because the new buy signal on the daily chart appeared above the zero line, so should we take it or should we not take it?
Good question.
Yeah, that's why I took it.
Where is it gone? Why is it not in this list?
It was weekly buy and daily new buy.
Okay. Yeah, so you see, it is not I think the concept, I think the slight confusion that the signal is above the zero line. No, that was my point, was that the indicator should go back to zero and only then give a buy signal. Okay, the occurrence of the buy signal above or below the zero line is okay, it doesn't matter, but it should have done this is important. Okay, if it has not done that, okay, so for example, if this had gone down, the indicator, just wait, let me remove this. So if the indicator had actually just gone down and turned up from here itself and then given a buy signal, then it would be less relevant. So we can actually go back and see. Say for example here, you see this. So what happened over here is the indicator came down and then gave a sell and then gave a buy again. Now of course here you have a big spike, but this is an ongoing existing trend. Okay, and here it didn't break the moving average, so sort of it held on to this trend. But these are the less relevant. This is the more relevant signal. So the key was really going back to zero and then coming back and then giving a buy signal. Whether the buy signal itself is above or below is fine.
Yeah, thank you, sir. There were a lot of questions with regards to, is it available for algo setup, and things like that. As of now, it is not there. If it is there, you will come to know later. But as of now, it is not there. Then a common question was also regarding what for intraday. So in the scanner, as you can see, there are only 4 time frames: monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly. As Rohit sir said, for F&O, you can use a combination of daily and hourly. But for intraday, it's not built into the scanner right now. You can check it into the individual stocks and you can do the hourly and say 15 minutes. So correct me if I'm wrong. You can do that, but it's not available in the scanner. And also a question regarding is it available for commodities and currencies? So as of now, it's not there. As you can see here in the stock list, you can select where the Nifty is written. You can select a specific index and you can look at it on different indices. But I guess it's not there available as of now on commodities and currencies. That should not be a problem because there are very limited commodities. So scanner may not be a very much relevant thing there. So yeah, these were the common questions which were asked. It is not available as of now on mobile app. It is only there on the Sharekhan TradeTiger. It's available free for all Sharekhan customers. So those who are not customers, once you open an account and once you download the TradeTiger terminal, you will be able to access this tool as Sir explained. How to apply Rohit short and Rohit long on a TradeTiger screen? Just add steady. There are 3 different indicators: Rohit long indicator, Rohit short indicator, and Rohit momentum indicator.
Yeah, all 3 are listed down here. So
yeah, right. Any queries after the session? Where would it be? What would be the contact person? You can put it under the Sharekhan TradeTiger affiliate site section. You can put it forward, and we will try to do something about them. Or you can even ask Sharekhan classroom instructors in their sessions, and we'll try to find an answer for it. So there was also a common question with regards to, at the time of entry, would you know the stop loss?
Okay, so that's a fair question. Usually it's the most recent high or low from where the sell signal has occurred. So say for example, this sell signal has occurred. This is a combination of hourly and 15 minutes, just like what you were explaining. And in this particular high becomes your stop loss. The most recent high or low is how we usually start putting our stops.
Okay. Another set of questions is derivatives. We already clarified daily and hourly can be used. Can it be used on the options chart? Would you like to take that?
So I don't usually put it on option charts because they don't have a lot of data, and also because I don't know, I haven't really thought of doing it.
It's better, friends, that you do it on the underlying and then maybe trade accordingly in options.
That is what I do. So I was just coming to that. See, my methodology over time to trading in FNO is always the underlying. All study and analysis is done on the underlying. I know people like to do so. Even if people do futures data is there. But even if I trade futures, I do analysis on the spot and then trade the futures. The reason is that futures also go into discount premium. Okay, and options lose time value, and so therefore their behavior versus the behavior of the underlying stock can be very, very different. And it might therefore not give you the same signal as the underlying is giving you. So I always take a view on the underlying. That's just how it is.
If hourly chart shows buy and daily chart shows sell, what to do?
Hourly chart shows buy, daily chart shows sell, do nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing exists. That's the whole idea, that you don't take bad trades.
Captain Swami, you're saying, is it applicable for indices? Of course, he showed Nifty examples so many times, so it's definitely applicable for indices.
See, this is applicable to all time frames, all securities. I use the RMI on currencies, commodities, international indices, Indian indices, everything. Okay, so there's nothing it doesn't apply to. And daily, weekly, hourly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, every time frame.
Okay, then also set of questions asked about how is it different from RSI, how is it different from MACD and things like that. Would you like to put some light on that?
I already explained that in the beginning, range bound and non-range bound indicators. RSI is a range bound indicator, goes from 0 to 100. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough, so let me just explain one thing. Let's see, what happens is, I did explain that the RSI stops at 100. What happens with a momentum, with this kind of a momentum indicator, is that if the trend is up, okay, it will tend to keep going up because there's no limit. There's no particular limit at which it should stop. Okay, and so if I'm looking at this, I even go to a monthly chart. Now, when you see history, you see there's no limit. It can go as high as this. It can go even higher if it has to. If I used a Sensex chart, there would be even yearly. So there would be even more data. So you'd see. Let's see if this brings in more data feed prior to 2000. No. So yeah, if you had, you would have seen various variations. Now see on the weekly also, there's no particular. Now when there's a very strong rally, this indicator just went up vertically over here in 2009. Okay, that's after the GFC bottom, and then when you had the election, right? So if you are riding this particular move, now I've zoomed into it. Once you got a buy signal here, it just remains in buy mode all the way till this entire swing. So it has no end point, and that's an advantage to me. It will at no point say, oh, I'm overbought. It's either a sell with a divergence or a break of a trend. Till then it is still in trend. And though you will find that in different periods of time, it might have a different range. Okay, so there may be ranges that work in certain periods of time, and that you can sort of see over here. For example, you may feel that this period is sticking to around this range at the top end and maybe this range at the bottom end. You may be able to come up with some kind of a range that you think is working. So but yeah, other than that, so even here, like for example, after 2009, for a long period, the volatility in the market actually contracted. So compared to previous periods, you notice it had a range. It had this range. Okay, so it remained mostly inside this range. Most of the buy-sell signals were in this range till the pandemic. So there can be different ranges that work in different periods of time. But if you have a strong market, like you had prior, say in the 2008 bull market, here, see the readings go much higher than they're doing in the latter period. Okay, now how is it different from MACD? Now see, MACD is not a pure momentum indicator. It's actually a moving average indicator. So it takes the difference between two moving averages. I'll tell you one of the problems with MACD. not just the delay in signal. But what happens is over time, we know that the indices, because we are long term, really long term, we are always in a bull market, right? So at one point Nifty was 800, then it was 10,000, now it is 20,000. So by default, the difference between the two moving averages always keeps increasing. And therefore, you will find that MACD never has a historical range that works. Okay, which means that you can never say that last time it stopped over here, so this time it will stop over here. Because the MACD, what it tends to do, I'll just draw it on the screen, is that it looks like this. If you take a 20-year chart or 50-year chart of MACD, it'll look like this. The buy-sell signals will keep widening. Why? Because the index is in a perpetual bull market. The difference between two moving averages will keep increasing, because earlier index was 100, now it is 1000, then it is 10,000, then it is 20,000. So it sort of has an exponential curve. Okay, and in that sense gives you no particular range where it has gone too far. So these are a couple of things that you'll notice if you use these indicators over time.
There were a couple of questions regarding any inputs about the success rate with the risk reward ratio for daily, weekly, or daily, hourly combination, something like that.
So what I mentioned earlier, this is very important to understand that this is an indicator that is fast. Okay, but like all other technical indicators, if you try doing a test on it, you will not be able to come up with the kind of results that you're trying to look for, because it's not a system. See, when you do system trading, it's very, very different. Now you'll have to build a system on top of it that, okay, I'll take these buy signals but not these sell signals, and these buy signals and not these sell signals. So then it comes down to a system. When we plot it as an indicator, we are showing arrows for all buy and sell signals, both above and below the zero line, because there may be different ways in which we use it at different points of time based on different setups. What I can tell you is that once I have a view, when it comes to execution, it has significantly helped me. I mean, I've already mentioned this is the only buy-sell indicator I use. So I cannot add more than that.
Right. Again, a couple of questions about futures options. So as he mentioned, it's better to do it on underlying asset and then translate your trades into the derivative segment. Higher time frame buy, lower time frame sell, we already answered it. We should go with the higher time frame. Okay, what is 9 EMA logic? Why 9 EMA only?
So 9 EMA has become sort of the standard. Even if you see MACD, it has a 9 EMA. Right. Why did it become the standard? See, if you really go deep into it, there's a book published known as Encyclopedia of Technical Market Indicators. What they ended up doing is they ended up testing all the common indicators that we know of, moving averages, RSI, stochastics, whatever, and then coming up with numbers that worked. And they ended up doing it on the Dow because it was a US book. And the numbers they came up with were the 2040 moving average crossover worked most of the time. The RSI 14 worked most of the time. So a lot of these common values that we use are nothing but just tested to work best historically. Okay, and so we just end up keep using them.
Okay, how to find Rohit Scanner? It's very simple. Go to TradeTiger. Under the tools section, you will get Rohit Scanner. And how to add the indicator, he already showed you. On any chart, just add steady and you will find Rohit Indicator in the steady sections. There are multiple buy signals for cams below zero line. How do we understand that?
For what?
For cams. I think he's talking about stock specific thing. Multiple buy signals below zero line. So I think the time frame analysis is something.
Yeah, you see there are 2-3 ways you can filter out. One I said is, of course, if you go into other forms of analysis like wave analysis, but one way, like you mentioned, time frame. So if we go to a higher time frame, you can filter out if your weekly is in buy or sell. If you're getting multiple buy signals, I'm sure the weekly must be in sell because you must be getting whipsaws. So if you're getting a lot of so all the buy sell signals are coming as whipsaws inside an existing sell signal on the weekly, then they get ignored, and that's how you clean it up.
Yeah. Is it good to be used on Renko chart? Something different?
Renko is like whether I use candlestick or Renko, but Renko doesn't give price movement. It tries to change price into something else. Will it work? I have not tried it. You can try it and see.
Okay. Is it available for Sharekhan education student? Yes, it's available for all Sharekhan customers, as I said on TradeTiger. Okay, maybe a very generic question. I just think of taking it. Any stock have low volume? Will it work on that?
So I haven't seen a problem if you really say low volume is 100 shares, we have a different type of problem. But anything which is fairly liquid, even if it trades 5,000 shares a day, 10,000 shares a day, I'm still applying it.
Stop loss, you already mentioned it will be the recent low for a long trade and recent high for the short trade. There are lots of praises also. Thank you, friends. And thank you, Rohit sir, for this session as well, definitely. So there are a couple of questions. I know you explained it, but everyone wants to know once again, what's the concept of zero line?
Oh, okay. No, that's an important concept.
I know.
And I started out explaining that concept with the idea of, understanding a sine wave, right? And here I've shown the actual chart. This is also the momentum indicator on weekly charts, where the yellow line in between is zero. So what we are really trying to say over here is that when we are thinking of an entire move in the market, okay, if I'm thinking of this move, this is the 1960s, okay, and you're thinking of this move and then this move, and you want to capture each of these moves. So I think of these as cycles, okay, first of all. These are all cycles, and I want to capture each and every cycle. So a cycle only completes when prices that went above zero came back below zero. Okay, it's not complete till it has not done that, which means all the interim buy and sell signals are false. So to put it in another way, if I'll just go to the pencil tool, put it in another way, I have a buy signal here, okay, but should I give importance to any other signals that occur in between? The answer is no, not till it has come back again, okay, because that's when it's really completed the entire move. So it's true both on the buy side and sell side. Sell side also, if this is a sell signal, okay, the entire cycle in a downward market is when it's completed the whole thing and pulled back. So here it's completed this, pulled back to this point, and then only the next signal over here, next sell signal over here becomes important. So we give importance. So in a bearish market, so if the weekly is bearish, I want to trade on the daily, I will look for daily sell signals, all of which are occurring from above the zero line. Okay. So these signals is what I will look for, presuming that the weekly is in sell mode. But not the ones which are occurring here, which can be false signals. They can be counter trend moves. So the importance of what I'm saying in a slow moving market, sometimes people don't realize the importance. Say when you're really trading short term, if you're doing daily and hourly, you'll notice that you can actually save yourself from many pullbacks and corrections by just doing nothing when you have a signal that is coming above the line. Because it might end up being a divergent signal. See, here also in the weekly chart also I can give an example. Let's presume this is not a weekly chart, it's an hourly chart. So you have a negative divergence like this. Prices are still making a higher high. You got a buy signal over here. Okay. So this buy signal is occurring very late in the trend. So by the time it moves up and falls, it will stop you out. You might not really make much on that trade. And many times it ends up being a trap. Very quickly prices just go up and then they collapse. In the shorter the time frame, that collapse happens very fast. In weekly charts, we can say 1 week or 2 week, but by the time 2 week ho jata hai, the low only breaks. So again, the idea is to avoid getting in a late trade. So those late trades are always the divergent signals which occur from a lower point.
Okay, again, common questions regarding recording. As I said, you'll be able to get them on the Sharekhan Classroom section under the Action Replay tab. I've already put the the link for the same. I'm re-putting it once again. It's available for all Sharekhan customers. You will be able to check it out from tomorrow evening onwards. So that should not be a concern for everyone. And by tomorrow, again, you will receive an email from our side on your registered email ID with Sharekhan, the Sharekhan customer, with that recorded link as well. You have to upgrade on TradeTiger now. It's available for everyone. If you're facing any issues, you can get in touch with your branch person or any contact person or you can put it in feel it, say it. There are lots of stock specific examples. I'm definitely wondering we will not be able to take all of them. He has told you the basic concept for the same, so you can use it on any stock. As he said, it's working on every time frame and any security.
I just saw one of the questions was on ITC, so I just opened it. I don't know why he said there are multiple buy sell signals, but the simple concept here is again the same. What you end up seeing on this chart is that the weekly is in buy mode over here, okay, and the daily is in sell. Okay, so clearly the weekly dominates. The weekly is clearly telling you the trend is still, this particular trend is still in force. It has not even completed its way down. And so the daily sell signal ends up not working. And so at that point of time, like I said, you either use a trend line or a moving average as a confirmation tool. And when you get a sell signal like this, you can actually just use one of these tools. You may even use, if you use a trend line, for example, at this point of time, you might find that useful in some cases because you'll get a sell but the trend line won't break. And in some cases you may use a moving average and that is useful, like the 20 has not broken. Some people like a 10. Each chart is different. Okay, so you might even find, like in this case, that it doesn't really close below the 10-day here, even though there's a sell signal, and that sort of keeps you with the trend. Now remember, there's just one thing for those who don't know about trend lines and moving averages, that they must be used on a closing basis. This, for example, here is a whipsaw. The prices went below the moving average but did not close below it, so it's not a break. Okay, a break of a moving average or trend line only occurs if you close below it on an hourly, daily, whatever time frame you're using on that basis.
Okay, a couple of questions. Can it be used on my own market watch? I guess that is not possible to my best knowledge. The scanner, you can of course look at the charts of.
Yeah, that is in development, Rishikesh. I think it will come out in the next.
Okay, great.
Next version we are adding custom market watches. Yeah,
that's a great. Friends, first of all, thank you very much for this overwhelming response. At one point in time, we had more than 800 people. So many questions. I tried to trying to kind of cluster out all the questions and answer them from Rohit sir. In case anything is missed out, we first of all apologize. If something is there, you can put it. Okay, what are the numbers appearing below the indicator graph? That's what Mr. Vivek is asking.
Numbers appearing below the indicator.
Yeah, even I did not get that.
This is a date, here. It may have been an hourly chart, so it would have been this numbers is the time actually. 13 is 1 o'clock. 14 is
18, 14. I think it's the time only.
Yeah, it's the time in 24-hour numbers.
What is the input speed?
What is the input speed?
Yeah.
See, the indicator formulation remains proprietary. But what we allow you to do is to actually change. See, some people don't want to use a standard setting. So we said, okay, let us put a number which doesn't really tell us much about what is, but we can actually change the inside data points in terms of usually what every indicator has, like number of days, right? So if you say that you want to run this on a larger number of days, okay, so you just increase this say to 6 or say to 10. So it will slow down the speed of the indicator slightly. So let me just apply it and show you. See what happened to ITC. Okay, so it changes slightly. If you increase it further, you make it 20, you'll find that it further slows down. Okay, so it will give you slower buy and sell. So you can adjust. If you want to make an adjustment, you can adjust. I've given that option. Okay, I just use it at standard 5. But if someone feels the need that I want to adjust it, make it faster or slower, choice. Same like if someone says नहीं मुझे 9 EM में नहीं चाहिए तो ठीक है, change कर लो.
If the buy signal is below zero line, can we still go about it? A couple of questions.
Buy signal is below zero line, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
What is the question there?
Yeah, so that's what he just wanted to reconfirm, I guess. How to add scanner? As I said, it's there under the tool section. Upgrade to the latest version of TradeTiger and it will be able to do it. Right click on any chart and go to add study. S is the shortcut. When you click on the chart, just press S on your keyboard and you'll be able to add any study. In the list of studies, you have 3 indicators which we spoke about. And comments are great to see indicators with an Indian name. Thanks a lot, Rohit sir. Worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean it's both of us. Sharekhan has also made that possible.
Yes. Okay, now SGX is open. Is it possible to check on that? No, not sure, please.
What?
SGX is open now. Is it possible to check on that?
SGX.
No, it's not. It's only on TradeTiger and it's only on Indian market right now, friends.
Yeah, but you have currencies and commodities on TradeTiger.
Yeah, you can check that out. Okay, what's the difference between buy and new buy? As he explained, sir, buy is an ongoing buy signal.
Yeah.
A new buy is something which is as per the last candle, ideally.
Yeah. So when there is a new buy, so it is exactly when on the last closing, if you have an arrow, it will say it's a new buy, which means if it has just happened. But if it happened days ago, like this is already now in buy mode, it will say buy, not new buy. This is a buy mode. But the new buy is only the day the arrow comes, that is called a new buy.
Okay, will the study be available in other softwares like Metastock, Falcon, Iris, Fox?
No.
Yes, your understanding is right, Mr. Matthews. It's currently only on TradeTiger. It's not there on the mobile app yet. Okay, sir, there are still 500 people. There is a nice request. If I can just request you to do that. Just to summarize the main key points, basically about the trading and the strategy. If it's possible for you. It will be great for everyone.
Okay. Do I have a slide on it? I have.
Yeah.
So there are 2. So I'll only go to the last 2 slides then, which is basic steps to execution and advanced steps to execution. These are the broad points. Okay. So a buy sell signal is sufficient most of the time in terms of giving you a trend. So if it's a buy, which means it's bullish trend, sell means it's bearish trend. Prices may or may not reverse till there is a negative or positive divergences in price momentum. You may additionally use a second factor of confirmation, either with a trend line or a moving average. And 2-factor confirmations will work better than a single factor confirmation. So that's the basic setup. Okay. What this doesn't mention, of course, is that all buy signals that are above, that are below the zero line are more significant than those which are above, after, of course, the indicator has fallen below the zero line. So, and similarly, sell signals that occur above the zero line after the indicator has gone above the line is more important. Now, the advanced steps is to use multiple time frames to do the same thing rather than a single time frame, which means trade the lower time frame based on the higher time frame. So at least 2 time frames are a minimum: daily plus hourly, daily plus weekly, based on whether you're a positional trader or a short-term momentum trader. So if you're a momentum trader, the daily time frame will determine the primary trend and the hourly time frame will determine the tradable trend. So if the daily is bullish, you will trade long exit on the hourly. If the daily is bearish, you will do long exit on the short exit. If the daily is in sell mode, you will do short exit on the hourly. Same way, weekly daily combination can happen, where weekly is in buy and daily you only do longs and not the shorts. Reason for doing that is it reduces your number of bad trades significantly. Okay, the higher time frame always determines the larger trend in force that you have to trade. The lower time frame is the execution. In a bullish trend, so that's sort of repeating what I've just said. So that's, I think, sort of summarizes it.
Yeah. One question. The color code on the short indicator is counterintuitive. Green is sell. Is that understanding right?
The color code of the
short indicator. Rohit short indicator
is to be read the opposite way. A buy signal is a short signal.
Yes, Mr. Vivek, you're right on that. So the buy signal actually is a short signal for short momentum indicator.
Yes, because we are plotting it upside down.
Rohit scanner, once again, it's available under the tools section of TradeTiger. Please upgrade to the latest version and you'll be able to see it. Does the indicator take volume into consideration, or is it only price?
No, it's only price.
It's only price. Can we use it as a standalone indicator for intraday?
I would again suggest what you said earlier, Rishikesh, is to use even intraday, use 2 time frames like hourly and 15 or 30 and 10 or whatever combination you want.
And then you can even use your own strategies like divergences or something like that. We are planning to do something on that. We will let you know about it. Okay, Mr. Uday has a testimonial. It's a great tool. I've been using it for some time and it works. Now that you have explained it very nicely, it will be very, very useful for me. Thanks and regards. Uday Sai. Thank you, Mr. Uday. Thanks a lot. How to connect two charts? Okay, that also was a very common question. Just control and double click on any of the script. It will open multiple charts simultaneously. I think you can use, you can open 5 or 10 multiple charts simultaneously at a point in time. Okay, very shortly, as of now, I don't know when it will be added on the app things. So I will not be able to commit anything on that. But when it happens, you will definitely come to know on various social media platforms as well. For linking charts, you again right click the chart, and under the chart section, you have an option for linking. You can select the link with script and you'll be able to link it like the way Rohit said it. So thank you once again for everyone for attending this session. And the recording of this session is going to be available on the Sharekhan's website under the Classroom section's Action Replay tab. The Sharekhan customers will get a link for this video on their registered email address by tomorrow, as I said. And like this is a session, one of the sessions of Classroom. You can attend any of the other sessions of Classrooms as well, which are again completely free. We have more than 20-25 different topics. When we send a mail to you tomorrow, you can explore those sessions, and as per your convenience, as per your requirement, and as per your need, you can attend the sessions for traders, investors, or even learning some basic concepts of derivatives or mutual funds, commodities, and etc. So thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much, Rohit sir, once again on behalf of everyone here in Sharekhan. It was pleasure learning this from you once again, and it was pleasure talking to you as usual. So
yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for doing this. I hope we get across to everyone.
Yes. And this recording, I'm sure, will definitely do a lot of wonders later, so that everyone can, will be able to follow it later. And we have specifically recorded the Q&A section also, so that you can go through the recording once again. You would not require the presentation because the entire session along with the Q&A is going to be recorded. So don't worry about it. You can just go through the recording and you can fast forward, you can rewind, that's it. So I will just quickly, before ending the session, I will just show you as to how do you watch this recording. Okay. So I'm just taking the presenter rights back, sir. Hope that is okay. Yeah. So when you go to the Sharekhan's website, okay, and you can search for Sharekhan Classroom here, or you can get it from the menu section or any of these tabs. You will get this page. Under the Action Replay section, okay, under the Trader section, you will get to see the video of this module by tomorrow evening, ideally. Just click on that, and like we have other modules of intraday trading, technical take on market or trading in commodities, just click on that particular tab and the recording will start getting played. You just have to be logged in with the Sharekhan credentials, that's it. There is also a small 5-minute snippet of the same topic recorded by Rohit sir himself once again, which is there under the Trading Toolbox tab, again under the Traders section. The name is Rohit Indicators for faster buy and sell signals. You can just click on this as well, and that small 4-5-minute video also can be seen as a kind of revision for all of you. He has explained all these 3 videos, not in depth of time frame analysis as to what happened right now, but at least all the 3 indicators he had explained briefly in that video. So you can use this portal, friends. It's completely a free portal for you as a Sharekhan customer. So those who are not a Sharekhan customer, you can consider opening an account with us for using all these free trainings as well as this free fantastic tool setup, which sir explained for last 1.5 hours almost. So thank you so much once again, sir. So finally, I'm concluding the session. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining this, and hope to see you soon in the other sessions. Till then, it's bye from everyone here, Rohit sir, and on behalf of Sharekhan. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure.
Yeah, see you soon in some other sessions. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you for watching. To keep up with the latest from Sharekhan, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the Sharekhan app for all your trading and investment needs.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.